Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I want to say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the house of David. Salutations to you brothers throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth in righteousness and sincerity. To you Israelite foreigners, come back home to the truth. To those that have passed away serving the Lord, the dead in Yahweh Shai shall arise first. Alright, I want to do this video because yesterday as I was working, I just happened to notice while I was driving home from work. Well, I don't know. Part of my job is driving around. But basically what I noticed was I thought school was over, but I seen a whole lot of like people that looked like they were coming home from school on the street. So it just got me to thinking, about education and the history of it. This school thing is a Greek concept, possibly even an Egyptian concept. School, you don't have schools in the scriptures. You don't have kids sitting around raising their hand to ask a question in the scriptures. What you had in the scriptures was you had family-owned businesses. So your learning is at home. Your first stages of learning, you learn from your mom. When you're real little, and then when you get old enough, you go out in the field with your father. And your father teaches you how to till the land, how to handle animals. You know what I mean? So that's something that you learned home. You didn't sit up in a class with 20 other students and learn. And the way they educate people now, it's Esau calls it a general education. And the thing is that they basically teach your children how to do a little bit of everything as opposed to a lot of nothing. So what that means is you have a lot of people that are, have a working knowledge of math, a working knowledge of English, reading comprehension, art, but they can't say that they're expert levels of anything. See, by the time you graduate at 17 or 18 years old, when you go back into the scriptures, you had experts at farming and whatever the family business was. They were experts by 11 or 12 years old. That's why you have people coming into adulthood younger when you read the scriptures, because they knew all they needed to know by a young age. And think about somebody that's doing it for 30, 40 years, right? You've been in a household that does farming, let's say, farming animals. You've been in that household for 30 years, right? You're 30 years old. You are an expert at that field. Now, you might not know how to speak well. You might not know how to add well, but you know how to do what you need to do. Esau gives you, hey, you gotta pass this art class. You gotta pass PE. And PE is always fucking the easiest class. Physical education. Home economics. So they waste time trying to give you a general education when what you really need to do is at a young age find out your talent so that you know what you're going to get into as an adult. Because some of the best people committed and dedicated themselves to one thing at a young age. When you start practicing your talents and really pushing your talents from a young age, you can become a level expert. Like right now, for example, I used to like baseball. I used to read every book I could get my hands on about baseball. Although I don't like it anymore, I know it well. I could probably be a damn commentator right now. That's how well I know the sport. I was reading up on that shit since I could read, basically. Not literally, but middle school and up. But you learn from a young age your craft, what you're gonna learn. You don't sit around in a class with 20 to 30 students and you gotta raise your hand. No, motherfucker, you ask your mom or your dad at home and they'll be able to tell you, listen, you gotta do this so that the animals can grow up. And that's what the problem is. Agriculture is a lost art because everybody's learning fucking math, science, and history and shit when they should be learning things that are practical for them. Now, you're going to have people that are going to excel at science. But the science that this world has is a science that's destructive to the world because they're learning in a classroom. They're not learning out there doing it. There's too much shit being done in classrooms and not shit being done in real life. That's why so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, even though we excel at school, our spirit is not into that shit. We're not into school. Because school, like I said, it's either an Egyptian or a Greek concept. It's not something that's native to Hebrews. Israelites didn't do that. Israelites learned everything doing it from a young age. What these schools teach you really is to obey. You have to sit down, you have to raise your hand, you have to wait your turn and all that shit. You don't actually learn the topic. You learn, concepts. And the thing is, when you really look at the so-called white man's history, they have a history of, that they were already behind when they took over. They was already behind, so they had to have schools. They had to rush to learn science, math, philosophy, and all that because they weren't always like that. You know what I mean? They learned it from the Greeks. The Greeks learned it from the Egyptians. They stole Egyptian. It's not really stolen. I guess you could say that they stole it because they claimed it as their own. But all the philosophy and all that stuff that they did, that comes from Egypt. And that's it. The rest is history. Then you got, Sappho training girls on the island of Lesbos. That was a classroom, a school. They were being educated in Greek arts and Egyptian things, but they were being passed off as Greek. So that's where you get the falsehood of Greeks being the fathers of civilization, is because they had to pretty much cheat and expand, somebody's need. But, back in the days, when you go into the scriptures, we were dedicated. That's what dedicated pretty much means. It means set aside, basically. Dedication means you got a one-track mind. You got tunnel vision. You're only looking at one thing. We only needed to. We didn't have to expand our minds back then. That's the thing. Life was easier, yet better. Because think about, instead of learning all this shit that's not going to matter to a farming family, picture learning how, hey, listen, you could grow yellow corn, you could grow red corn, you can grow, different kinds of corn. Because you're dedicating your whole life to it, so at some point how to do things. As opposed to you're learning science, math, English, and all that other bullshit for 12 years, and then you go out into the world and then you become a farmer. Like that. You're not gonna know how to become a farmer. But if you learn from the fucking age of 5, where your mind can be dedicated to farming, you will know, okay, this is what I gotta do to have different variations of corn, or different variations, or when a cow gets sick, what to do. You know what I mean? You will know that from the rip, from a young age. So you filter out all the shit you don't really need to learn. That's what a dedicated education really is. You learn your trade from a young age. Take me now. I got a fucking English degree, and I'm not using this shit. I work construction. Why the fuck did I need to learn English when I work construction? I'm a fucking you know, expert when it comes down to writing college papers, but what do I need that for when I'm working construction? So I wasted all my time, and even before I worked construction, I worked customer service. What do I need an English degree to work customer service for? Like, I literally have no need for my degree. You know, that's just sitting there. And I'm actually, to be honest with you, I'm learning construction as we speak. You know, because I'm a project manager. I pretty much kind of, you know, manage the crews that we work with. I don't actually sit there and install. You know, but because of the fact that I wasted all this time getting the so-called white man's education on other shit, you know, I could have probably revolutionized. If, you know, think about it. If you learn something from 5 years old, if you start really learning at home with your family business from 5 years of age, you're going to be an expert by the time you're 13, 14. Because that's 8 years of education you have on one subject. Not sitting here in a classroom raising your hand to learn 8 different subjects that you're not going to learn, that you're not going to need. The only subject that they learn that my crews need is mathematics. That's it. And maybe geometry. You know, but back in the days, it was a simpler process. Because simple isn't a bad thing. Things get complicated because Esau complicates them. This whole thing about sexuality and you have to make provisions for, you know, all types of, you know, and the whole thing about, because they say sexuality is fluid. What that means is that, listen, you can literally, it's okay to feel like sleeping with anything or being with anything. You know, so when they say sexuality is fluid, that's it. That's basically to say things like, yeah, you know, justify men occasionally that are faggots wanting to sleep with women because sexuality is fluid. You know, which is bullshit. That's literally, if there was ever something that you can consider the white man's bullshit, that's it. Sexuality is not fluid. A man that doesn't want to have sex with women or doesn't want to mate with women is a pervert. That's it. You know? But all this stuff that's byproducts of the so-called white man, Esau, all the things that are byproducts of his society, including their education, is evil. Why are you going to have your daughter sitting up in a school with other boys her age? That's opening them up to hormones and to things that they shouldn't be having at that age. Like, schools are actually evil. And I say that with all due respect because I'm a product as far as the knowledge of a school. I went to a school, sat down and learned and raised my hand. And I'm talking about when I learned the truth, Israel. You know, and a lot of great brothers before me are products of schools. They went to a school. But if you notice, the real education is out in the street. Go to a camp and you really learn stuff. You know? And I'm not sitting here saying drop out of school. At this point in life, you know, you need that high school diploma to get certain shit done and all that other shit, but it's not really a need as far as, you know, as far as actually being able to navigate life and to get things done for yourself. It's only a need, like I said, you know, if you want to, you know, a lot of shit's not available to people that didn't graduate high school. You know, but just understand that the real education is when you actually do something. Like right now, I'm learning on the job. As I work, I'm learning. You know, I don't sit in a fucking classroom and have somebody tell me how to do what I do. I do what I do. Trial and error. You know? And that's it. You know, this education system that they have here is literally just a system to keep you actually dependent on them. You know, think about it. They're not teaching you. What are they teaching you? They're teaching you to obey a stranger. You have to listen to your teacher. So for 8 hours or 7 hours, you have to listen to somebody that you don't even fucking know, as opposed to somebody like a parent who actually has a stake in raising you. Because think about it. If your father teaches you the family trade, let's say carpentry, you're going to become an expert at a young age in carpentry. And then you can, in turn, with the money you make off of carpentry, since you're so good at it, you can not only take care of yourself, but you can take care of your father and your mother, your parents, when they get of age where they can't work anymore. You see how it makes more sense to be home educated in the family business as opposed to a general education? That's why these kids don't learn. That's why they're wasting their time in these schools where they're learning things that they're not going to put to play in real life. But the problem is, that's the way of this world. You know what I'm telling you. You know, don't try to apply it to real life. You have to get that college, the high school diploma, whatever, to get a few, certain things done. But your real education is by doing what you're gonna do. I learned the Bible in a school, but honestly, I didn't really learn till I started living it. That's when I started saying, oh, this makes sense. Things make sense when you actually do it. Experience is the best teacher. They always say that. Well, guess what? You're not getting experience in a classroom, raising your fucking hand. You know what you're getting experience doing? You're getting experience becoming a fucking robot. Because they don't want you to learn anything. They want you to learn just what they want you to learn. You feel me? So with that, I'm going to say all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the house of David. Salutations to you brothers throughout the four corners of the earth, teaching the truth and righteousness and sincerity. To you Israelite foreigners, come back home to the truth. To those that have passed away serving the Lord, the dead in Yahweh Shai shall arise first. Shalom.